After the maintenance one, right after number 5. Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve as modified.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved, 6-0. Thank you. We now have the administrator update.
Quick update here on a few items that are listed there. One on Leelanau Tower. Our response to the planning commission or the planning commission as relates to our special land use permit will be completed by the end of the week. I'll make sure you all have copies of it. So there's nothing major that we have seen in there. We have enough funds left over that if we need to do a little extra work, we're prepared to do it. Thank you for allowing us to bring that individual board to get the work done. On the BSNA, we're continuing the internal discussion. There was a meeting yesterday, which I didn't attend, but I'll get an update later today from the various parties. We hope to have something to you at next month's meeting about which direction we should be going or not going. Beta versus
on that, so you have specifically BSNA, but
that was what I shared with you.
And going back to the written, I'm thinking specifically BSNA, you just said use software. So should we be looking at multiple vendors?
BSNA is the vendor that most local governments are utilizing. I've learned in the next month that a lot of our departments are using some element of BSNA within their working elements. We'll bring you back a process report that you can take a look at. But it is a program that a lot of local governments throughout the state are going to, and it's one of the features of it is all the modules that you can continue to add to it, like different items down the road. You don't have to do them all at once. And one example that I will give is that in St. Joseph, Michigan, they took a module, and the city of Traverse City is doing it now, to add everything in their cemetery, all the background, all the written records, while they won't disappear. It's all online that anybody can go to. Those are things that you can continue to add as you wish. But we haven't done our internals work yet. The number of department heads have been engaged in this, and so we'll bring it back to you for your discussion at our meeting in September. That's the game.
Right.
Okay. On Beta versus Grand Traverse County, there's a settlement conference that's scheduled for August the 30th. It does not require a commission member to be present, but so that I don't get fussed at later on, I'm letting you know, and I'm saying this politely, it's nothing bad. I just don't want anyone to think that we're trying not to let you know. Our attorney says the only individuals that need to be there are myself and him, and it's all being done by Zoom. So it's up to you. If you're interested, I'll give you the Zoom account and you can chime in. Again, this is not our dispute. This is just between the county and for their, hey, if y'all sell it, great. So we'll get you up to date on it. Also, as well in water line repair, we did get an estimate last week. It's going to take about $26,500 to do that. I have it in for the capital projects. Don't think we'll get anything completely done for in the next couple of months, but it's also going to come down to a discussion as to whether this is something that we should be undertaking, whether that's important with all the other capital projects that are out there in the department budget. Something you'll probably be dealing with during your budget review. Last but not least, one of the audit recommendation was to update our grant policy. What we utilized, we sent to our attorneys was the Raymond report, entire your purpose, which had a major section on updating the grant policy. We also gave them our current grant policy, which is 2803. We took the audit findings of this year, and we also gave them the job description for the finance director and provided all that to our council. And they have drafted us an updated grant management policy for our consideration. It's not on your agenda today, but I've handed that out to you. You have a copy of it in front of you, so you have the next month to read it, to review it. It sets the guidelines pretty stringent about how any grants have to be processed. It's kind of what we're doing right now, but it puts it more in writing and in policy. So it will be on your agenda for consideration next month. So if you have any questions, feel free to give us a buzz.
Any questions for the administrator? Thank you. Thank you, Richard. We now have Jennifer and the Michigan State University team.
If you could please make sure
And
that
they're all
your
here. Thank you.
cell phones aren't next to the mics, they're getting feedback again from cell phones near the mics. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren, for queuing up our presentation. So hi, my name is Jennifer Berkey, and I know I've seen most of you here before. I'm the District Director for MSU Extension, and it's my distinct pleasure to be able to share the annual set of accomplishments of our entire MSU Extension team. So I always like to make a caveat, although I'm the one giving the presentation, it's the team members behind me that do the work. So thanks to them. So if you could go to the next slide, Lauren, please. So I always like to remind you how we're funded as an organization. So it's through the partnership with Leelanau County. Obviously, our largest funding source that we have right now are grants and contracts, but we're also funded by state and federal dollars in addition to our partnership with counties. So I always like to remind the commissioners that investing in MSU Extension, our programs and services yield a greater impact for the county through our leveraged resources that we have throughout our varied funding partners. Next slide, please, Lauren. I always like to give a snapshot of exactly how we reached audiences in Leelanau County. We have a great variety of ways that we deliver our programming. We have online programming. Obviously, we learned a lot of lessons during COVID that individuals want to access our programs in a way that's convenient for them. We're still doing a wide variety of programs through a variety of ways, our traditional kind of in-person programmings, but we also have some on-demand programs. We have online learning and D2L types of kind of asynchronous learning mechanisms. So we're really pleased to report that we utilize those learning lessons during COVID, and majority of your Leelanau residents are accessing our programs. As an example of that, 259 unique programs were accessed by Leelanau County residents last year, which is kind of the equivalent of someone coming into this room and teaching a class every day and a half. So that just shows that they're accessing more of a variety of programs through the different ways that we deliver our education. We reached over 5,262 people through direct programming. And again, that's probably a very large number. And what's nice about it is even an increase over last year. We also reached 44,000 people or so versus through our social media network. So that's unique page views. That's obviously not residents, but it's unique page views on our two Facebook pages, both a 4-H page and an MSU Extension page. And we reached over 1,156 people indirectly. That would be like at health fairs and different type of promotion efforts that would be not like as an in-person kind of a meeting. So next slide, please, Lauren. So some of the cornerstone of what we do is some of our agriculture work, obviously. And I know that we're going to talk about a variety of them, but I just wanted to put some faces to the staff that do some of the work in the area. So we see Chris Bardenhagen, who's our farm business management educator, who we introduced at our last year's meeting. Aaron Lowers works at the research station, which all of you know about just down the street here. Ismail Narolazar, he does our viticulture education. Remington Rice does farm stress work, and he's housed in Benzie County. Next slide, please, Lauren. I know we're having a slight delay on the the Prezi, so thanks for being patient. Obviously, Dr. Nikki Rothwell, who's the research station coordinator, Dr. Rob Sarine, who's housed in this office and you know him well, and Dr. Nate Walton as well. So we have a large amount of staff whose work is being reflected in this report that is contributing to agriculture in our community. So next slide, please, Lauren.
Glad you had Rob's name next to him, because I would not have recognized him in a suit and tie. That might
Well,
have-
that's what I said when we edited the presentation. I said to him, I said, no one's going to recognize you in that picture, so we should choose something more alike to your likeness there. So Ismail continues to provide really vital work in the viticulture space. This seems to be kind of a growing agriculture space for us. We have the Dirt to Glass conference that's happening next week in Traverse City, and it's a premier wine grape industry conference that we're doing in partnership with Intentional Agriculture and MSU Extension and the wine grape industry. And so again, just he's providing a lot of really great research-based information to help those growers make informed choices about what to invest in, what type of varieties are popular, how to deal with the different pests and such. He's also doing research trials focusing on robotic laser research because the number one crop loss is from birds. And so they're trying to figure out if there's a way to utilize robotic lasers to kind of keep the birds from eating the crops, because again, lost grapes is lost revenue and lost wine. So again, trying to help those growers make really informed choices. His whole goal has been to really elevate wine quality in our region. Obviously, we have a lot of wine industry up here, but it's elevating that quality so that they can get a higher price point and continue to sell more wines. Next slide, please, Lauren. And this is just a slide showing some of the robotics that he's been doing with the lasers at the research station. Again, that's a trial that's happening over at the research station over on Center Road. So next slide, please, Lauren. Thank you.
So you bet up this laser. Is it just light then?
It is just the light. Yes, it does. It frightens them away from eating all the wine grapes. So yes. I think there's something Ismail told me, like almost a 20 to 25% crop lossage from the birds. And that's a significant amount of wine grape when you've tended that and dealt with all that and got the pests off of it for sure.
Okay.
So obviously, we always like to continue to support our cherry and apple growers through our integrated pest management updates, and obviously our premier event at the Northwest Michigan Orchard and Vineyard Show. We had a record number of folks attended that, and again, just continuing to try to support the tart cherry and sweet cherry and apple industry. I'm certain you've read in the paper about some of the challenges of the sweet cherry crop. I mean, they just had a devastating crop from the wetness that they had, and then the spotted wing Drosophila was back with a vengeance, which had kind of taken a back burner for the last few years. They haven't had that pest pressure, but that pest was out because of the mild winter and then the really wet summer we've had. So again, just a lot of challenges for that industry. And Dr. Nikki Rothwell continues to be a source of support for them, providing those integrated pest management updates and giving them those best practices on what they need to do to avoid as much as they can. So next slide, please, Lauren. So again, we're going to feature some of Rob's work here with his hops industry. Rob continues to support our hops industry. The research and outreach that he does is important, faces important issues facing hop growers like quality and disease. Rob also hosted the Hop Buying and Dine webinar series, which provided biweekly updates to growers. He also led a survey to help better support the hop growers into the future with changing market demands. I know Rob can probably speak to this more eloquently, but there seems to be kind of like a trendy kind of bit about hops where people want a certain variety for a while and the growers plant that, and then people's tastes change. And then you've got this issue on, well, we now need to replant with this different variety that will be more of a selling feature. So again, Rob continuing to do that survey of the industry to help people anticipate better so they can make better choices. So thanks for Rob for leading that survey as well. He also supported and presented at the Great Beer State Conference this year. He continues to provide that cutting edge for hops growers and craft brew industry to learn more about trends and best practices. So next slide, Lauren. And here's some of the results from the survey. So again, he and what I liked about the survey in his report was that he reached 85% of the total hop acreage. So that's really a survey that had a very high return rate. So it's really representative of what people really need. So they're going to be able to use that information to really strengthen plant selection, improve hop quality, and incorporate Michigan hop varieties, which is what we want to do, is to sell more Michigan hops in the industry. So next slide, please, Lauren. And here's some pictures of the conference as well. So there were over 550 speakers, trade show representatives, and again, just a nice, strong economic contribution to the local economy specifically for that conference. So thanks for your efforts on that, Rob. Next slide, please. Again, I always like to feature our Extension Master Gardener program, and a special thanks to Nate Walton for his leadership on that and all the volunteers that do work on our behalf. Obviously, the gardens outside look beautiful. I talked with one of the gardeners this morning. She came in just to say hello, and she's just got a small couple of plants she wants to add to continue to add to that beauty of probably the largest municipal, native plant garden that I know of for certain. So it's, again, just really lovely. So a big thanks to the master gardeners as well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the volunteers that do that work. So 803 master gardener hours last year equated to a value of almost $27,000. And Nate hosts a home horticulture question and answer. So people can come in with their disease, dying, and dead plants and want to maybe get some bug identification in the Leelanau office. And so again, that's something else that's a service for residents that we do here as well. Next slide, please. I always like to talk about Chris Bardenhagen's work as well, because Chris Bardenhagen is a new member of our office. And the thing that I like about what he does is growers are facing difficult decisions every day on how to, best utilize their resources to make good fiscal decisions. We obviously want our local growers to continue to operate, because that's the beauty of the area is our agriculture landscape. And again, Chris works with them to help them make good fiscal decisions. In addition to, then we couple that with our content experts like Rob and Nikki and others on what maybe they can do from a content perspective. But Chris does a lot of work specifically on taxation and helping with succession planning, because obviously that's something that faces growers as well. So he's not able to be here today. He's meeting with a grower. So he asked me to pass on his thank you to him as well. But again, the work that he does is really helping growers make good fiscal decisions. Next slide, please, Lauren. And one thing we've noticed during our work with growers is obviously looking at the tart cherry and sweet cherry crop this year is that farmers are under great stress. As a entity, or as an employment group, farmers have the highest rate of suicide than any other employment group. So through that, multiple years ago, MSU Extension received a grant to start our farm stress program. And Dr. Remington Rice works in partnership with our local staff and other professionals in that agriculture community to help farmers link to mental health resources. That's very important to us. Dr. Remington Rice is housed in Benzie County, and he will meet one-on-one with growers. He helps coordinate teletherapy for them, and he does presentations. And he was at the Orchard and Vineyard Show last year. He does them all around the state, helping to link growers to mental health services to support themselves. So a big thanks to the team that helps to kind of continue to link those growers to that valuable resource. Next slide, please. So we'll switch out of agriculture. I know I spent a lot of time, but you have a huge amount of resources that your residents have access to here. So I wanted to make sure you knew all about that. So again, this report's reflecting on Rosalie Collier's efforts in 4-H. I don't know if you've heard, but she accepted a position at NMC, which made me very, very sad because I love Rosalie. And so this work is her work, and that's why I kept her into the picture. Next slide, please, Lauren. Her job is currently posted, and I'm search chair, and I will commit to you, we are going to find a great replacement. So I always like to kick off this report with the school farm markets. And the nice thing about the farm markets, again, is it's really linking local agriculture at the schools. All the schools in Leelanau that were accessed they went to 5 area schools. And again, it's a team effort. So you've got the research station there. They're taking apples from the station and pressing it into cider. You've got 4-H there teaching kids about livestock and 4-H opportunities. Nate's there with some resources as well from the Master Gardener side. And we bring our great smoothie bike that everybody likes to blend a smoothie and drink that. So again, it's a whole team effort. And we were very pleased to report we reached 2,295 youth, staff, and community volunteers through our school markets. My favorite comment from that is when the Hort Station staff were handing out the cider, the kids said to the staff, "Where did you buy that cider from?" Even though they watched it press and they watched it squish and they watched us add the apples. So again, teaching your youth about where their food comes from is a critical nature of that particular effort. So next slide, please, Lauren. I always like to say in Leelanau County, there's something for anyone and for any youth in 4-H, and there's just no shortage of that. These pictures just really show happy kids doing a wide variety of things. So you see the kids doing the tap dancing through the tiny tappers. You see youth fishing. You see youth in shooting sports. Again, any youth in Leelanau County could find something to do in 4-H in Leelanau County for sure. Next slide, please. Obviously, fair and the livestock work that we do is another big piece. And I know we wrapped up fair last week. I can tell you that these are the numbers from last year's fair. So this reports 2023 to 2024. So this is 2023 fair numbers. But the auction that we just wrapped up with the 4-H that were present at that auction selling their market projects, it was the largest auction that we've ever had. It broke a record. I was clerking in the auction trailer all day, and I'm just going to give the credit to the 3 groups that need to have it. Obviously, Northwest Michigan Fair for providing an amazing venue for us to auction our animals and be present for our 4-Hers and showing. We also have a dedicated group of volunteers every year. So that's our Livestock Council and our 4-H leaders. That's another group. But then it's really the buyers, like community members like you, that raise their paddles and give really high bids for these youth on these projects. So the nice thing about fair is it's more than just obviously selling an animal. They're learning business skills. They're running a small little business. They're marketing their business. They're selling their animal. They're raising a product to be sold. Again, they're learning those entrepreneurial skills that we all want our youth to have. Next slide, please. Another new thing that Rosalie did this year was the Small Town Farmers. It's a camp for 7 to 10-year-olds. It was a day camp for Leelanau County youth. They learned how to handle animals, feed, groom, and care, and they took a farm tour and made healthy snacks. So again, just something new that youth had a chance to do in Leelanau. Next slide, please. And not only did the youth get a chance to learn something, but they also learned leadership skills. I know all of you being leaders here in your community, serving on the board, recognize the importance of building that in our younger youth here as well. And so youth in Leelanau took advantage of all sorts of opportunities for leadership experience. They went to 4-H exploration days. They went to Capital Experience. They went to veterinary science camp. And one youth in particular went to a 3-day 4-H youth spectacular Youth Leadership Institute. So again, a chance for cultivating the future potential Leelanau County board members here at some of these events to learn those leadership skills. Next slide, please. Again, just more fun pictures of what they did. So obviously the skiing program, I know it's kind of morphed into something different than what it used to, just with some of the staffing issues with our partner at the homestead. But again, just continue to be able to provide a variety of things for youth to learn. There's youth up there learning babysitting school. So again, learning those entrepreneurial skills so they can be ready in the job market at some point in time for earning some income for themselves. So again, just some fun things that they had a chance to learn as well. Next slide, please. And Rosalie, through her hard work, also secured a grant through Apple where they brought in iPads into Suttons Bay Elementary School, and the youth had a chance to really practice science, technology, engineering, and math skills on those Apple iPads. So again, the Apple grant provided that. Rosalie did the training, and then this technology was invested back into the school for them to use during their school time. So again, just another opportunity showing that leveraged piece of what we can bring. So as an organization, we can leverage some of these statewide grants and then bring these resources back into communities. So again, just another great resource that Rosalie helped to organize. Next slide, please. So we'll switch gears a little bit to our health and nutrition work. And so you'll see Jane Rappin's picture there. Again, with our nutrition education that we do, our main goal is to help individuals with limited resources learn to eat healthier and improve their physical activity while on a budget. So again, just teaching them different tips and tricks in order to maximize their health. Next slide, please. Jane does a lot of work specifically with both food pantries and then with youth and adults. So this picture you're seeing is her cooking for one class that she did over at the Friendship Center in Sutton's Bay. She taught a area seniors about cooking for one. So again, just sometimes when you lose a partner and you find that you're alone, it's hard for people to scale down in their cooking. So these are different strategies that she taught them how to eat healthy and maybe not become reliant on ready prepared foods that are often higher in fat and calories. Same with the teen cuisine picture on the right. So she was in with Northport schools and teaching them how to cook for themselves. So again, that same philosophy of becoming less reliant on ready-made foods. And so that they, when they leave, maybe potentially and go to college or go off and get a job, then they can kind of obviously cook for themselves. Next slide, please. The other big partnership she has in Leelanau is the Pantry to Preschool project, where it links 182 people to healthy food through that project. And what happens is each family gets a food box with a recipe that Jane develops in addition to the food that they would need from the pantry to make that meal at home. So again, these preschool families get this box of food with a healthy recipe and the food to make that meal for their family when they go home that night. So again, a big thank you to Jane for her effort and obviously our local food pantries for helping with that. And so you can see this Benojan family indicated that I've tried vegetables processed in the boxes that my family would never have purchased and known how to prepare otherwise. It's a wonderful way for us to try new foods. With the rising grocery prices, this helps us financially. We're grateful for the program. So again, a big thanks to Jane and obviously the local food pantries up here for being in partnership with us for that. Next slide, Lauren. And the last area I want to talk about is the work that we do fostering strong communities. And I know that you all know John Amrine, who's recently retired, but again, some of the work that he does and has done is reflected in this report as well. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Mark and Parker and some of the work that John did prior to retirement. Next slide, please. So I know some of the great things that we've done this last year with John is I know John came in and helped you all make some decisions about how to structure the fiscal officer position. And so again, just a reminder that, you know, that was something that he did. And I also wanted to give a thank you to Commissioner Alguire for participating in John's Northern Michigan County Association. That's a way for you to become linked with other county commissioners and other administrators to learn more about best practices and what are some of the critical issues facing counties. So again, a thank you for that. I also wanted just to give a shout out for some of the work that's done in sea grants. So Mark Breederland continues to work with marinas and local areas on water level issues, water quality, and marina best practices. So that's featured there is his BBOT. It's a grant that BBOT and then the Pixie drone. This was a grant that we had gotten through Meyer, and we purchased these two pieces of equipment that are demonstration projects where people can learn about how to clean up beaches and the importance of obviously keeping plastics out of our water. So the drone flies through waterways and marinas and picks up plastics. And then the BBOT goes on the beach, and it is a learning tool where it shows what plastics are pulled up after it cleans the beach. So again, just more of a learning opportunity. It's not a beach cleaner for municipalities, but it's a way for people to see a demonstration project. So again, just a reminder about some of the work that Mark does as well. Next slide, please. And then I also wanted to talk about our MSU Product Center. Obviously, we continue to work with businesses. So Parker Jones, as I wrap up our report, he works with local entrepreneurs who have ideas about bringing, you know, some kind of new facet of a business, either a food-based business from idea to marketplace. And this last year, our product center worked with 11 client businesses, which was 113 client hours, which realized almost 30,000 in sales growth, one new license obtained, one new product launch, and then 57 new total employees. And these are Leelanau County only numbers. But the picture that we've got there is featuring Homestead Halstead Homestead Cherries, which again was the site of that New York Times cherry event last year. And the picture there is two of our staff that attended that event. But again, that particular, he's a member of our product center work that we do, and so feels free to be featured in our report. So a big thank you to him for all the entrepreneurial efforts he's doing for cherries. So I think that's I have one more thank you slide, and then I think I'm all done. I know it's a long report and I know I have a time constraint, but it is impossible for me to not share everything that's amazing that we do because we have such a great team here. But again, just another thank you for giving me a chance to present this report. It's always my distinct honor to be here and I can always answer any questions that you have. But I also wanted to give a thank you to Tanya, who did the design on the report this year, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So Tanya Pop is our new office manager, and I wanted to give her a thank you for doing such a great job designing our report. So.
Questions for Jennifer?
Did you say you are replacing John?
Yeah, so John's posting, we had a posting, I'm the search chair for that as well. And we did a posting and we only had two kind of marginally qualified candidates. So we decided to do a pause on that, thinking that summer's not always the best time that people are looking for jobs. And that just got reposted yesterday. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. He's been staying in a part-time capacity, just running his Northern Michigan Association of Counties, because that's like his baby. I mean, he loves that a lot. And so for us, that was a good way for us to have a transitional moment for him. So, but yes, his position is currently posted and active. So if you know of anyone, please let them know about it.
I appreciate that group, because it truly is a place for all of us to share common problems and the way we're dealing with them. And he does a good job. I always celebrate when someone retires, and I'm sad to see them go.
Yes.
But thank you for all of your work.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for the staff that are here to support you and the people out doing the gardens as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
they're out there
Thank you
today.
very
Thank you.
much. We now are at our first public comment. You may speak to anything that's on the agenda that you'd like to talk to us about. You have 3 minutes. Please raise your hand if you're interested in speaking. Yes, Mr. Mikowski.
Good morning. Excellent report by the group here before me. But I was curious, as with the senior citizen report last month, that there appears to be no financials with these reports. And I guess as an oversight body that you are, of budgets, that there would be some kind of financial statement or a 3-year statement indicating how the finances have gone for these organizations. Seems to be that would be one of the priorities you would have here. Another item on today's agenda is the facilities director issue. And I suspect that there has been a need, necessity, benefit, and justification report that's been prepared that all you commissioners have as to the exact need that we have for this new position that we're considering. I would like to see that report if that's available, because it seems to be an issue on the agenda. Furthermore, we were quite astounded about the priorities of this commission. If you recall that the highest priority this commission had when it started almost 1.5 years ago was public comment. We tried to limit public comment. And then we had at last county commission meeting, we had a what I call, it would seem to me to be called a coffee à the moose masquerade. Took 40 minutes of county commission's time when we were being told that public comment could not be allowed. But this masquerade by those two politicians who talked among themselves was a very important item on the agenda last month. So we're really astounded by that kind of priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments this morning? Thank you for attending. We now have commissioner comment. Any commissioner comment? Commissioner Algar?
Spectrum is doing a program of celebration at noon today, so I'll be leaving early. They completed 700 homes doing their RDOF, Rural Development Opportunity Funding. Those were RDOF grants from the federal government. They did 40% more homes than they were mandated to do. Basically, if there were people across the street who would pay them, they gave them internet, which was we still have people waiting for internet. We have 200 people left. Will be depending on the BEAD grant, but we appreciate that Spectrum expanded what they were charted to do with their RDOF work, and they are now, they say they're done. So I'll be going to them.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comment? I would say the Point Project throughout the other parts of the county is going very well. In Leelanau Township, people are being connected every day. So it's Bay Township, they're being connected, and I think we can applaud the progress we've made on the fiber project. At this time, we'll turn to our action items, and the first item on the agenda is the sheriff. And the sheriff and the sheriff are here. Thank you very much.
Okay. Morning, everyone. 2 items this morning. The first will probably create the most consternation. We had a serious PI accident where a car struck a pedestrian up by Northport on M22. Our deputy responding with lights and siren had someone do a U-turn in front of him. Person just didn't see him, lights and siren on, other witnesses saw it, no fault to the deputies. The person was cited a ticket by the Grand Traverse Band, have another agency do it, but bottom line is, car was totaled by the insurance company. And I think you have the paperwork in front of you. There's a slight difference in cost in that it was a slightly used vehicle. Unfortunately, it wasn't an old vehicle, it was a brand new vehicle, 2025, but we do have to put stickers on it. Simplicity as it in a truck. So I don't know if there's any questions, I'll answer that. It is what it is category.
Commissioner,
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners allow the Sheriff's Office to immediately purchase a 2025 Ford CVPI SUV and equipment to replace the one recently lost in an accident. Total cost after insurance reimbursement not to exceed $44,070 for funds to come from the mobile.
Support.
Commissioner Lautner.
Are you speaking to it first?
You said 44,000, it's 4,000.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, correct. $4,470. I was looking.
So, I just had a question. My only question is, sorry to hear about a brand new vehicle, and I'm glad our deputy is okay. But should that come out of the motor pool fund? And actually, I may ask finance director.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate to come out of?
Well, we're rebuying a car the motor pool already bought, but the funding is only the insurance money in the motor pool. It's the 40, whatever we got from the insurance.
47,000.
47,000.
Yeah, so I think that the difference should come from the general fund and then the sheriff's budget to cover that, to rebuild that car.
Yeah,
Or a new car. And I have a question, if I can interject
Whoa,
a
whoa, whoa,
question.
whoa, whoa.
I'm
Let's-
sorry.
no, that's okay, because I think I'm going to make an amendment, because I haven't, but go ahead.
I also noticed in.
Kathy?
Yeah.
You need to come up to the table so
Oh, sure.
people that are watching. can
Yep.
hear.
Oh, thank you, Sheriff. So, yeah, the question is, the insurance proceeds were deposited to the motor pool, but the difference is not there. We don't have a budget for that, and we've already built the car that was approved this year, so I think that the 4,470 should be a general fund expenditure to outfit this car with its equipment and decals.
Okay, so I would make an amendment to the motion to state that the funds to come from the general fund, sheriff's department, line item.
The difference.
The difference,
And I'll
correct.
make an amendment for that.
Do you have support?
I'll support.
Okay, so I'll speak to it, because we, as you know, we went through budget process last year, our motor pool fund is very low, and we did raise it, but I just want to make sure we have enough money to purchase all of our, well, we'll be into 2026 vehicles, we would need to put those in the budget, so.
And earlier this year, we moved money from contingency to the motor pool to finish purchasing the cars that were approved this year.
Exactly.
I do have a question. I saw that it might not even be delivered this year.
It's so hard to get cars now, especially
Yeah.
patrol cars. It's just, we're fighting a lot of
I mean,
factors.
officially, I'll wait till next Wednesday morning to order, but they say 90 to 120 days.
That's what
Could
I
be
read.
3 weeks, it could be 4 months.
So
They
it,
can't give me a time frame.
we'll watch it and it might be a 2025
I would
purchase.
expect
If it
that.
can't be done this year, it'll be added to next year. So, okay, that's all I had.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
But the price is locked in, right?
Price is locked in. Yes.
Okay.
We have a motion and an amended motion. Are there any other questions? Let's vote on the amendment first. All those in support of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All those in support of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
You have enough cars in the meantime?
Yes, but you know, we hit another deer tonight. We're gonna be way down.
We're
there.
juggling.
We're
We're getting by.
juggling quite a bit. Jim's in charge of motor fleet, does a great job. And as Melinda said, you know, the important thing is the deputy wasn't hurt. I mean, we can replace a car, but hard to replace deputies, so. But yeah, we're managing it.
I thought we were supposed to wreck only old cars.
That would be the ideal, that would be an ideal thing.
I don't even know if the stickers came off easy, I can tell you that. It
Yeah.
had a little over 4,000 miles on it.
It's just timing. I mean, he wasn't hurt. That's a big thing. So, second item we have is the 416 car, the Secretary of Road Patrol car. State Police does partial funding for us on that. So looking for permission to submit a grant application for 24-25 fiscal year. Looking for your support for that.
Commissioner Rush?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners allow the Sheriff's Office to apply for the 24-25 fiscal year secondary road patrol grant with the Michigan Office of Highway Safety and authorize the board chair and the finance director to digitally review and sign the application.
I
when
think
it
raising
is
it
ready.
to 76.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Lautner?
Reading this, looking at, what does the state do with all of this information? You must give out all this, is it quarterly you have to give them this
Yeah,
information?
they compile it statistics like accidents involving school buses and people passing school buses when the lights are on. If we need a statistic like number of accidents that are personal injury compared to property damage, the state compiles that. It's actually a lot of work for the undersheriff to keep that up, but he does a good job with it.
You're
And
probably thinking about like hours in the county park and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I mean, this grant is close to 45 years it's been going on now. That deputy technically does not work any of the M roads. They can in an emergency backup fashion, but they are strictly secondary roads, parks, all the county roads, so.
And it increased this year. Last year, our allotment was 54,000 and this year our allotment is 77. So that's a good sign.
Projected. I have to say.
Projected.
Why was it increased so?
Go ahead.
They changed the funding
My-
mechanism of
Question.
how they calculate the monies. So,
Alcohol and basically more
well,
tax stuff.
originally it used to be based solely on citations. About a year and a half ago, budgetary wise, they changed that. They now allocate certain money and the citation money goes into the general fund and they've allocated more because obviously citations across the state were down, COVID, that kind of stuff. So they changed the way they allocate in the budget. There is a set amount now. Depends on how many counties put in, how many officers they have for each county. That fluctuates too. So it's never the same amount. I can tell you back probably early 2000, it used to almost fully fund a deputy. 3-4 years ago, it bottomed out at probably only 34, 36,000. Jen might know more specifically. And now it's rebounding back up. So
Some agencies like Oakland County Sheriff, Kent County, they have a pile, they have a fleet of cars doing that. We just have one car. It's kind of our specialty car. There's some secondary roads issue. It's going to be a very important car next year because they're going to start that road construction project at 22 and 72 and north into Grelikville. And we are going to see increased traffic on 633, 641, 643, 645. It's going to be a mess. So that car will spend a lot of time down there because there'll be people flying back up and forth those north-south roads.
Excuse me, sir, I don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah,
I'm living through it every day,
yeah, you are.
twice.
next year's gonna be worse.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I was looking for that paragraph where it said how this was funded, and it was increased fees and, yeah, I just said. I believe it's liquor.
That is tied into it too, yes.
Yeah, okay, well, I can't find it right now, but. So that's why taxes are up and people are drinking, I don't know more, so then now we got $20,000 more for it.
Yes,
Okay.
I was pleasantly, I had to rewrite the EDS because I didn't expect that big of a jump.
Okay, let's vote on the motion. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you.
I have one more item. We talked about the school reimbursement from MCOLS for putting a student through the NMC Academy or any other academy. As of August 7th, they ran out of funds. So we will not have someone in that school. It's just, there was 30 million to start. It whittled down. It takes a while. Suppose they're going to put more money in the fund. We may have an opportunity again for the January Academy. That will start at NMC on the 29th of January. So we've been diligently calling back and forth to MCOLS and to Gail, the director at NMC's program. It is what it is. They ran out of money. We didn't get it quick enough. So hopefully we'll have another candidate for the next school. We're down 2 positions right now. One of them is backfilled, but he's in training, FTO training. He is a deputy from North Dakota, transferred here. Fiance works at Munson, so he's back here, but he's still in training. So we're still technically down 2 positions because he can't function on his own. And the other position was the one we were going to fill the academy. So we're going to try to get someone to come here.
Was it first come, first served?
It was, yep.
Our delay might have impacted.
Honestly, a little bit, but you know, we didn't come to you right off the bat when this program first started. There was a little delay, yes, but it's so competitive. And by the time these agencies found out about it, like downstate, they've been pumping people through this like crazy. And we were just looking to see when we weren't actually down officers up to a certain point. So we applied late. There was a little delay, but I'm not blaming on that. It's just the way the ball bounced this time.
The academy starts the 21st. They had 15 people
Of August.
slated. Yeah, so in like 10 days, of those 15 people, only 4 were guaranteed funds. So they don't even know what they're gonna do in the next 10 days because those other 10 or 11 positions, the counties, I mean, it's not funded, so they may be backing out. So they know there's a problem.
And they said when they reimburse the fund, they're gonna put another 10 million in it. Instead of reimbursing 24,000 to the counties involved or entities involved, they're only gonna reimburse 20. We can still live with that. That's in the general range, but in general, police are hard to come by now. Professionals want to go into police work. So that's gonna be an essential program that MCOLS funds that every year because, you know, it's expensive to put someone through. And in defense of the program, I was a state officer, I was a federal agent. Both academies were paid for. You know, state police, academies paid for. DNR, you're not only paid for your academy, but you're paid wages the whole time. These young ones around here are locals that we want to hire. They have to pay for their own academy. And during the academy, he was one of them. He was one of my students at NMC. During their academy, they have to pay for it out of their pocket. They have to pay for their meals, expenses, travel, and books and everything else. Plus, they have to have a side job most of the time, take care of the family. So I think it's a good program. I look forward to using it in January. We're going to approach you again around December 1st, try to relight it up and see where we're at.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Okay, now on page 58, we have emergency 911. Mr. Enter is here.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, so here to hopefully extend the contract that we have with Midway Electronics for the Leelanau Township Tower. The contract that we have with them right now is set to expire at the end of the month. So if we're able to amend this contract and extend it further, we'll be able to accommodate the planning commission process that we have going on right now in the township and continue this project moving forward.
Commissioner Rogers?
I move to recommend that the county board of commissioners approve the first amendment of agreement with Midway Electronics, Inc. for the construction of the Leelanau Township Tower and authorize the county board chairman to sign the agreement pending final approval from corporate counsel.
Any discussion?
This has no fiscal impact, this is an extension.
It's just an extension. I was on the phone with Midway just before this meeting and they didn't have any proposed changes to the language right now. So this should be a pretty quick turnaround once we get approval.
Now, just to be fair, you asked, but we know there may be some because of the delay of, not their problem, of some minor stuff, but that'll come once we have approval. Once we've gone through the ropes to get the site approved, then we tell them to go to work, there may be some minor changes, but that'll come back to you. I mean, that has been reported out to you some time back.
Any other questions?
Have you written a book on how not to build a tower, maybe?
Maybe.
Do this again?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm hoping not to do it again.
All right, that'd be great.
And all those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
And Kathy, we have 3 items for you.
Good morning. Now with my official capacity as your finance director, I think it would be best that I have a credit card to do the travel arrangements for the department heads and elected officials, employees that travel. That's predominantly what we use it for, so it would streamline the office. Currently, I need to ask permission from authorized holders, which would be, well, the undersheriff takes care of the 24/7 across the street, but I have to ask permission from the clerk every time to use her authorized card. So I think it's time that I take one on if you'll approve that.
Commissioner Ross?
I move to recommend that the Board of Commissioners authorize County Finance Director Kevin Carlisle apply for and obtain a Visa credit card in her name and social security number. State Savings Bank in Suttons Bay for county use as outlined in policy number 7.12 credit card policy.
Support.
Any discussion? Question? Is it standard to have it be in an individual's name with an individual social security?
It's lawful. It's unlawful to have a credit card in the county ID number because we can't indebt the county.
So just for travel and conference calls, no.
It's only used for, I do have to use it for building licenses for construction because it's all done online. They don't accept checks anymore. So like I'll sit with Amber in construct or building safety, renew licenses for the inspectors. They don't accept checks. We do have some vendors that just will not accept checks. That isn't a preferred way of doing our business because it's very hard to trace back when you want to know how much you've spent. You can do it to an expense line item, but if you want to look for a vendor and you have to search through all the credit card bills to find a payment for something, it's very difficult. That's why we like to do checks for almost all of our transactions. It's easier to search.
Commissioner Rohr?
So the bill will be sent to the county in your name?
Yes,
And
just
will
as
be-
it, yes.
Okay. Homeland Security, I had a federal credit card and I had to pay for it myself and then turn in and was reimbursed immediately, so I just was questioning.
Those were for just expenses for you personally, for what you did for business.
For travel and yes.
Yeah, and in all fairness too, when the claims and accounts comes to you, you see listing of the undersheriff's card and the charges that have been reconciled. You see the charges to the clerk's card and all the charges that have been reconciled. At any time, you could say, we'll pay all of them except this one. And that's on me or the undersheriff or the clerk. They all have to pay it out of their own pocket if you don't approve it. And we know that risk when we take this on. Mhm.
So, you know, I was asked if I wanted one, I said no.
No, you don't.
But this way, inside the administration office, there is an individual that has a credit card. So that if you want to attend a conference, we can pay for that if we have to do it by credit card. So that way we streamline it pretty quick, so.
Good improvement.
I just have a question on the policy, 7.12.
Sure.
Number 10 states that the finance director will maintain an active credit card user. So this was updated, or did we already have that in there?
This is always been in there. The last time this policy was updated was in August of 23. I can't tell you what the update was without going back and looking at the red line then.
Well, technically, we've already approved this. It's in the policy.
This is a maintain an active credit card user list that I know who has what cards in the building and that they're reconciled through the accounts payable and finance office. So I know who has what, right, right.
Added to the list.
Yes, yes,
So we have three active, we will have three active credit cards after this.
correct.
Any other questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Now ARPA funds.
Yes, I gave you two sheets, pages 65 and 66. Specifically talking about 66 addresses your ARPA award that was 4.2 million roughly. And over the years, by board motion, you have allocated money of that ARPA funds to the Point Broadband project. You've also done a home stretch project a couple years ago, and we're reducing the dollar amount. We've utilized quite a bit of it, but you're still in contract with Point Broadband for the balance, 1.8 million. We talked in January, Treasurer Gallagher was with me. We talked to you about how you would like to fund the balance of that Point Broadband. And we suggested that you use the remainder of the ARPA funds, plus the interest that has been earned. Treasurer Gallagher has done a good job keeping that in an interest-bearing account for us toward the Point Broadband, and then the balance of Point Broadband would come from DTR. This also satisfies the requirement that the government has given us that we have to make a decision about what to do with those remaining ARPA funds. We have to commit them before 2025, or else they want those monies back. And I think that you're going to see that in a lot of agencies around the state of Michigan. And that might be why Secondary Road got a little bump, because the state of Michigan has more money too, and they don't want to give it back. So we're seeing allocations of ARPA funds because people want to get them spent because they don't want to send them back to the feds. So this is just a request to follow through with the meeting you had in January. You did not make an official motion. It was discussion, but we need an official motion to utilize the rest of those ARPA funds. And then you do have two Point Broadband invoices coming, and Administrator Lewis knows about those. And this will eat up that money right now, and we'll move money from DTR if you approve this motion.
Commissioner Elgar.
I move to recommend that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners commit the balance of the ARPA federal allotted funds, including interest earned, totaling approximately $862,897 towards the unfunded balance of the Point Broadband contract in the amount of $1,800,000, and the remaining balance of the contract, less all committed and expended ARPA federal funds, be transferred from DTR approximately $937,103 as invoices are presented for payment from Point Broadband.
Support.
Discussion.
Yes.
I think it's clear, but I want to make sure I understand. It looks like our ARPA funding will be transferred immediately in full, and the rest of that DTR money will just be expended as the work is completed.
Yes, we'll
Right.
move it as we need it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other question, Commissioner Lautner?
So what is, I'm sorry, what is our DTR fund right now? What is our DTR at?
That balance, I don't know. Is Treasurer Gallagher in the room?
I will get your report.
So I guess like, you're still comfortable with this situation as presented earlier, correct, Treasurer?
So there's at least 900,000 in there.
At least.
At least 937. So my concern is that we pulled some of that money to make additional payments towards MERS. I just want to make sure that we'll have enough in there to do those things as well.
Yeah, your MERS, we haven't done an additional, since I've been in office for you. We've done a budgeted additional payment in the
We
general
haven't done
fund.
one on top of what we budgeted.
Not since I have been serving you in this role.
We need to at least do a budgeted additional,
Mhm.
if we can't do an additional on top of the budget additional. I sound like Kamala.
Okay.
We'll bring that back to you.
But what I said doesn't make sense.
On top of that, I'll figure it
Yeah,
out. in a
we've done
minute,
two
okay?
types. We've budgeted
Yes.
them and then we've
You
done
have,
additional on
and I'm
top
aware
that.
of that. I am aware of that historically, that at times you have pulled money and done an additional contribution towards your MERS. It just not since I've been performing this role for you now.
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you, Kathy, for
Sure.
tracking that.
Yes.
Now,
Chain up the pride team.
I'm just staying in case that you need me to answer questions.
I'll do the next one.
Okay.
Something that came to my attention is that, a year ago, when the current IT director was hired, was put into place, for some unknown reason, the salary that was committed was frozen at the 2022 rate. You can see on the spreadsheet what was done. And so any increase to that particular table, particular line item of their salaries was frozen at the 2022 rate. So there's no increase in 23 or in 24 that goes through that. Now, I have no explanation to give you as to why that was frozen. I don't know why it was, have no idea, but it's all been approved by this board. Generally, I think that's very unfair. Why would you freeze something for an employee that was coming up that the previous IT director was being paid, and all of a sudden it was stopped by and I understand there was a recommendation or it came out of the county administrator and then the personnel director at that point in time. I know it was not advised by staff, but it went into place anyway. I see no reason why you would take an employee and all of a sudden freeze them from 2 years ago. Now, there may be an absolute good reason. I don't buy it. So I would recommend that we unfreeze it, put it to where it's supposed to be, and do what I think is the right thing to do. So that's my recommendation to this board. Work through the finance. Also, we're going to retro half of that back to the employee for what they should have been paid at the rate if it's been moving forward. And so this is my recommendation to you. I think it's pretty well laid out in the EDS or the executive document summary, as well as the chart that has been presented to you. So,
Commissioner Lautner?
I move to recommend to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the salary adjustment for the position of the IT director as presented. Amend the 2024 budget accordingly, which includes a retroactive lump sum salary adjustment payment in the amount of $4,382.86 to IT Director Leanna Wilson.
Support.
To answer your question, we all wondered at the same time what the heck was going on, but this was Deb Allen and Darcy Weaver, and there was no, we never got an explanation.
well,
So
and I
we have
can't,
to apologize for that, but that's the way they did it, and that was,
well,
we never got an explanation.
and at this point, I can't justify it either. So.
Commissioner Rush?
Did we go back in the minutes to see if did we actually vote on that?
You vote on the IT director position and the salary, and the job was posted
And it said-
internally.
And is it frozen? I mean.
No,
No,
we don't
that's
do
not-
that.
It's just what it was.
No, that's just
So
what
it
they
was just
recommended.
assumed, I mean, probably just assumed that it would follow normal protocol.
No, we did not.
I had no idea.
I apologize too.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Anyway,
Thank you.
Clarification, I think, because we're overruling a vote that we made last year, there's a supermajority requirement.
It was also, the situation in this was proposed in your budget. So it was done through the Appropriations Act. I can check with the county clerk, but I don't believe that you would have to do a supermajority. It would be a vote now to be retro back. But we can take a break if you want. I can
But I
check with the clerk.
suspect we have 6 votes anyway.
Well, in any case, then this is 6 votes to move it forward. The real vote takes place next Tuesday night, not
Right.
today. You're just moving forward
There you
the
go.
recommendation. So we'll make sure that gets clarified by next Tuesday.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
We now have Gail Meyer. Page 69 of the board book, if you're in track.
Good morning. What I have is a request for a one-year contract extension. The county has an agreement with Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency to do housing rehab services. And this would just be to continue that work for another year using our program income funds.
Commissioner Unger,
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners approve a one-year contract extension with Northwest Community Action Agency for housing rehab services, pending the contract extension review by corporate counsel.
support.
moved in second. Any questions or comments?
So usually it's a 3-year contract, or we just do it every year?
Every year we extend it for another year.
And they do wonderful work. Their outreach is excellent.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Lauren here, I think, or Richard.
I'm gonna do this. Lauren just happens to sign these things after she reviews with me because I'm not here to sign. So there you go. As you can see, that's wasn't my signature on here, but she does it with my authority. One is that our D&W, I forgot his name.
Gary,
Huh?
Gary O'Connor.
Gary brought forth this to me as an item as it relates to the circuit breaker panels that we have inside this building that needs some inspection and probably upgrading. And he's had some major concerns. Most of you may know that Gary is also a licensed electrician, but they cannot do, D&W cannot do the work. So he's recommended and I'm sorry you don't have the rest of the packet in here, but you can see it, that we go out for bids to have this correction done inside this building. So we are asking your permission to prepare a request to approve a request for proposals for electrical inspection, repair, and certification as outlined. And we will bring that back to you. Of course, all this will be coming back to you for approval of the bids. So we'll make sure that you see a copy of the RF, the request for proposal that is going out, so that you're pretty much aware of what's taking place and what's being requested. That's a work item that needs to be included inside this building. So.
Will our licensed electrician like to make the motion?
I may have to excuse me, but my firm may be competing for that contract.
If you feel like you need to excuse yourself, then I would recommend that you do so.
Yeah, I have no idea for sure, but I think it's wise at this point.
At this point.
Commissioner Lawyer.
I'm going to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approve the request for a proposal for electrical inspection, repair and certification as outlined, and I just hit something. Finish that up.
Description of.
Thank you. Where did it go?
Any questions, yes, Commissioner Rush?
So when was the last inspection done, or is it?
I did not know when it was done.
It's just kind of scary that it says and labeling. I hope they're labeled now.
How old is this building?
Wow.
Well, this building opened in 2008.
Yeah,
So it's been a number of years.
I would just be curious to know
No,
what the
we'll
history
try
of
that.
it. That seems a little weird to me that
Yeah, that sounds like it's.
There are multiple levels of this service that you could do from basic to very advanced and make sure that we can do what is required.
We are going to do what it is, we'll make sure that our building department has taken a look at it, make sure we have everything in there that we need to have in this request for the proposal. And I'm going, with all due respect, I'm going for the advanced. I'm going to go up to the high end because I don't, doing the bottom line. If we ask other contractors to follow a higher standard, we need to be doing that higher standard ourselves internally. So we'll be doing to make sure we get what we can get, so.
You can't say well, it's not your money.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's not my money, but it is my money, and that I don't pay taxes in this county. I agree. But still, it is the concept that if we're going to do the work, and it's the same philosophy I use as a city manager and everything else, if we're requiring others to do this out here in the community, we as the government need to do the same thing, period. That's the philosophy.
So whether I'm agreed, then that would be to the same standard, and we require other people not to a higher standard that we.
Yeah, well, we probably need to be at a higher standard.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and all those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion.
Well, I hope, I was going to
5-0.
say, I hope everything is well, but considering what went on when this building was built, we did not really have a project manager. I was outvoted on that. They used the present county administrator at the time. And we have had fallout ever since, and hasn't done any good. We screamed and hollered about it. We did get some things reimbursed, some things repaired, some things fixed, but not everything. And those contractors are long gone.
So we have a vote of 5-0 on that. And now the treasurer. With his late addition, and you have a handout in front of you.
Good morning still, and thank you very much for adding this to the agenda. I'm here today on behalf of the Land Bank Authority. We have two projects that are underway. One is about near completion, which is Brewery Creek. And the one underway is 201 High Street up in Northport, the old Memorial Hospital. These projects are demolition, remediation, and blight elimination. Part of these projects is reimbursement. Working with the contractors and with the state, it was proposed for the Northport Hospital, bids exceeded 900,000. We submitted it to the state for consideration and were awarded. The estimate for the project was at that time $700,000 approximately. We talked to the State Land Bank Authority and confirmed with them that we did not have the resources at the local Land Bank Authority to facilitate a reimbursement of that kind. They in turn said that they would work with us. And I'm here today on their behalf and saying that they request a formal presentation of this to seek the funding from the general fund first before they will exercise and do any assistance from the state. The project is slated to be under $400,000. Included in the packet is the grant itself executed by the State Land Bank Authority and the contract for demolition.
I don't know if we got that in the package.
It was in, okay, I apologize. It was attached.
Okay, we did not provide it.
No, that's right.
So we'll have it there next week for you in the package.
Yeah, included was supposed to be the state contract, which I will provide you copies with. That states the $700,000 up to award. When we went out for bids, we came to Bay Area Construction, who came in considerably less than that. And they had a very good presentation. The contract was then awarded to them. They have since been through site inspection, site control, and demolition for the structure itself. They have presented us with the first draw on that project. So we're simply coming before the county board today from the land bank to seek a bridge loan to reimburse the contractor, submit it to the state for reimbursement, and then return the funds back to the general fund.
We're guaranteed that the funds will go back.
Yes.
But this should have come to us in the very beginning for our grant policy. There should have been a,
Well, the land bank is a component unit and we don't have necessarily a per se a grant policy that,
but it has to follow the county grant policy.
okay, well,
So we have to make sure that because, I mean, gee, what if we didn't have 400,000 in the bank?
then the state land bank authority said that if this is turned down,
We
then
have to pay for it up front and then be reimbursed. So that is.
it's a reimbursement grant, correct. The state said they would prefer me to come before you and ask directly for a bridge loan. And if the request is turned down, they would help me facilitate that.
Right. So
So-
you already made the grant arrangement with them.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what should have come here first and then followed through.
okay,
That's,
Okay, but we are going to get this money back, and this is to pay the contract.
yeah, the grant's
Yeah.
already secured.
And so this is to pay the contractor now. for
Correct.
work that he's completed, so I
Correct.
would support this because we
have
have.
But what will be the time lapse between those two?
Likely, the project is gonna be done by 8:30 of this coming month, you know, I mean,
So,
we're
More than
hoping,
likely, we have it in here that the bridge loan is gonna take up until December, but it will be paid off much sooner than that.
the only reason I'm asking for a 6-month term is because of the fiscal year change for the state. There's a lag between issuing vouchers from 2024 to 2025 fiscal year. So as I said, the project is slated to end before the end of the fiscal year for the state. If we're able to get that submitted for reimbursement, we should be able to get that in the 24. Otherwise, it'll be in the state's 25 fiscal year, which is maybe a few weeks later.
And I believe that Trudy Gala and you updated us on this land bank grant more than a year ago.
We did,
We didn't vote on it, but it was in Trudy's update or your update.
yes.
Not a surprise. Commissioner Russ?
And I,
Interest or?
No stated interest because it's an intergovernmental loan. And this is just a reimbursement, so it's just facilitating, you know.
Commissioner?
I would move to recommend that the VOC transfer up to $400,000 in county funds to the county land bank for the bright illumination project at 201 South High Street, Northport. And the land bank transfer of the funds immediately back to the county upon receipt of the grant funds. And I'd like to say that this is an important project and it's a wonderful thing for the community of Northport that's getting done.
Does this tie up any money at a critical time in the?
Shouldn't with the amount proposed, we have that in excess in the money market account for right now. And with the proposed turnaround, it shouldn't affect anything.
So if we do get the energy grant, the solar panel grant, there's, we've been talking about dips and stuff.
Yes, and as we said, you know, with that grant, it isn't gonna be, right,
Okay.
yeah. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room.
So it's good that you're understanding it works here, so I'm hoping that we're understanding it other places too.
But absolutely no risk of repayment.
No,
Any discussion, questions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
thank you very much.
We now are on item 6, but I suggest we take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back and give the floor to our administrator.
Thank you.
Close, close.
No,
This way.
Oh, sorry.
I am so far.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't know, I tuned it where I said it is.
Oh, dang, hold again. I was pushing by Mr. Galloway.
When we're going to get a board packet. Because so far we haven't gotten a board packet on the county website. Those things are really useful to follow along with the.
Look up, huh? So,
Anyways,
Right.
yeah,
Especially when it's,
so we didn't have that happen.
okay.
Turn your microphones back on. We'll reconvene our meeting. And Richard,
Okay. With this, our first item on the, under our reports is the financial audit services. As explained to you, the contract with Lincoln Robinson has expired with the completion of the latest audit. Well, I mean, we're still going to them, for considerations and questions that we have. But for auditing service starting in 2025, we've got two options. One is that we can go out for bids, which I think we should be putting it out for bids. This was awarded, from what I understand, 5 years ago without a bid. And every so often you need to do that to make sure everyone keeps their pencils sharp. This is not a reflection on the services that we have received from Raymond Robinson. They've done an excellent job for the county. And in my past lives, we have utilized them for services that have done a great job always. But, I believe that through your policy, after this many years, going out for bids, and if Raymond Robinson wants to bid, would like to bid on it, that they can submit a proposal with the others. The other option is that you can go out there and you can waive the bid policy, you can direct us to go out and seek a proposal from Raymond Robinson to include which does include the component units for the same period of time. So those are the two options that you have at this point.
Commissioner Retro.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners allow the preparation request for proposals for qualified firms and certified public accountants to provide those financial statements, including any and all component units for the county fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027.
Support.
Can I speak to that motion for a second?
Yes.
I agree 100% with Commissioner Lewis.
What'd you call me? Commissioner?
Administrator.
Oh, I thought you said commissioner. No, don't put me there.
No,
That would be a mistake.
I said administrator. So, the same thing, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any gripes with Raymond Robinson, but there's only one way to know we're getting better pricing. That's as well. If they came in and they were 3% higher than the next lowest bidder, we still have the option to say, hey, we can award the contract, but this allows us to get a competitive price. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner Lunder.
I guess I have 2 points. One, we have gone out for bid and you're absolutely right. You can come back and still accept or not take. I guess what I do, we work with a lot of different auditors, not a lot, I should say, a few different. But when it comes to expertise in county government, it's very important. So that's just kind of a warning out there. But, Raymond has not been afraid to point out those who have made errors and also helped us to correct them. So I think that's very important, rather than just have an auditing firm that might just put things under the rug and keep them hidden. They haven't done that. So I think they've been very fair. The next thing we haven't done is, and I haven't talked to you, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you're brand new. The position's brand new. We haven't decided if we're going with a CFO or administrator, et cetera. Switching auditing firms in the first, so this is for, for the 24 fiscal year. So it would be starting in like March. Is that a comfortable thing for you?
I can address this. I did talk with Richard extensively about this, and Lauren. We're working as a team in the administrative office, and Another option that I thought of would be to extend or ask Raymond if they might consider extending for 2 years just to help us through this transition. Get us on our feet. They've been with us all this time. A component of Raymond is your Empower with Purpose document that we're utilizing and embracing. And so another option would be maybe consider an extension for a year, 2 years, just to help the finance department get on its feet so that there's solid footing. Can't go forward if you don't know where you've been,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's just an
that's
option.
logical to me.
It's an
because
option.
They know our government inside and out.
Well, if that's option number 3, to extend it for 1 year, and I wouldn't go any more than 1 year. That's just me, but
1 year would get us 1 year further.
that's up to you.
And we discussed that too. It's up to you.
Yeah.
How would the fee be established for the 1 year extension?
Well, we would ask them to present us with a proposal to bring back to you in 1 month. That's what you know, and at our next meeting. And whether you,
What do we lose by getting a bid and then making a decision based upon all of the input we've had, but at least we may get a better price if we ask for bids.
Just preparing the RFP,
so
just for preparation of the RFP is a huge job for this particular project.
I think we have a draft that's been out there in the past. We're just going to update that draft and go through it. Make sure we'll have our legal review it to make sure it's all in there. And that's what we can do. So again, I do not question the capabilities of Raymond Robson at all. And I do not question the efforts that he have given the county, you know. But using them for a long period of time and after 5 years or even longer that we haven't gone out for a bid. It's not that they got here because of a bid at one point in time, but it's been a number of years. So
Yeah, we've gone out for bid too,
Yeah.
other times and
Yeah,
just
I know.
go back to them. We always get different auditors. That's important too. Same firm, but we always get different auditors, and that's a very important.
well, one thing I will make sure that's in the bid is that their experience of doing county audits, and I'm gonna maybe put a statement in there, you know, tell us what we need to know, not what we want to hear, you know, so we like to think that we're perfect, we're not. There's always something that, you know, that could be done a little better in the recommendations, but we need to know that, you know, to do our jobs.
And you could ask for references as well.
Well, we will ask for the references, we always ask for the references. And one thing that Kathy and I will disagree on, she's been with this program for over 2 years. So, I mean, she may have a title she's been, I said this last month. She's been doing the job for the last 2 years. And she wants to admit it or not, she's been here.
Have you been heading the audits?
Have I been?
Have you been heading the audits?
Yes.
Well, she did the last one. In fact, it was the last audit that she was really in depth with and helped find a lot of items. So that's one of the reasons why I like moving her up. She's been through the battle once. She may have to go through it again, but it won't be the first time or the last time.
Commissioner Rexford.
So in order to expedite this process, I would amend my motion to recommend that we prepare the RFP, but also ask Raymond to submit in addition, I'm sure that they'll be bidding on the RFP. In addition, that they submit a 1 year extension contract for our consideration. So we can look at this all at once and we don't have to do it 3 different times. So, you know,
We can look at that.
Support that, I would support that.
Okay, so it's
But it's also going to be made quite clear that the submission will not be shown to anybody because everything will be open at the same time.
correct. And then we get all the information at the same time. and
That's correct.
the other,
Kathy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can
any other
work with that.
discussion?
I just want to make sure, are you amending your original motion then?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I have Al Dyer seconding that.
I approve it.
Okay, so I'm gonna change the support to Al Dyer, so it's just an amendment to the original, not an amendment and then going back. Just
Correct.
one vote.
I amended
Just one motion.
I amended my
Yep,
original
one motion. Okay, thank you.
So all those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 6-0. Thank you.
On the next one is the approval of the actual grants between the county, the administration of the grants between the county and the three nonprofits that have applied for them. There's been some discussion that maybe we did this last month out there, but once again, it's the process that I follow is that what I was intending that last month is that you approve the acceptance of the funds from the tribe. Now you're moving, so you may be making the same motion again, but at least I know in my brain, you covered the process.
Commissioner Brooks.
Move to recommend the approval of the 2% grant contract as signed, permitting Leelanau County to distribute grant funds to the Inland Seas Educational Association in the amount of $15,000. Housing North in the amount of $50,000, and Leelanau County Historical Preservation Society in the amount of $3,680.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Next, we have the NRAA zoning board appointments.
Okay, you have, we do have a recommendation from Sullivan Township. As you recall that the county has approved the extension of a 10-mile radius as it relates to a zoning board. The requirements are that at least 2 members of that coming from Leelanau County have to live within the 10-mile hazard area. We haven't checked on the one individual as it relates to Miss Christine Deary. Did I pronounce her right, Deary? We want to make sure we do have a recommendation from Elmwood Township that they appoint that we recommend Sarah Claren, who is the township's planner. She does not live in Elmwood Township, but she does live within the circle. That's the main question. Brighton Township zoning administrator has recommended their zoning administrator, Steve Patmore. He does not live within the circle. So, and we're going to check on Miss Christina Deering if she lives within the circle. That's, that way we will have 2 individuals that live in the circle. The question was asked to me of why the townships. The reason why we went mainly, it's open for anybody to apply. The main reason we went with the townships, these are the governmental units that are going to have to deal with whatever comes out of the zoning. That comes out of the airport authority. That's why we left it with them. They have the direct impact. Everybody else does not. But if for some reason we need to find somebody else within that circle, then we'll bring that back to you. Next week, there will be a proposed resolution on your agenda that the airport authority would like to see us adopt. The question is that they will, how do you want to do this? Do you want all 3 of these individuals to have 3-year terms, or would you like to have them where there's someone has a 1-year term, someone else has a 2-year term, and someone has a 3-year term? I would highly recommend that the Elmwood Township, and if you want to go with that second one, that the Elmwood Township individual, Sarah Claren, at least have the 3-year term. At least Elmwood Township has the most inside the circle. And that's why I would recommend them. The other 2, it's whichever way you want to do it. So do you want to stagger the terms?
It's a good idea.
Okay, then I'll come up with a way to do that and make a recommendation to you. The other 2, so.
In the initial planning, we brought it up that there should also be an alternate.
I have not been given that from a letter, anyone from the airport. I'm staying.
That was in our initial plan that was supposed to be.
I have not seen that. I was asked to get. You were requested to come up with 3 appointments.
Right, okay.
You'll need to take that
So
back.
the alternate could be out of Grand Traverse and out of the rest of the circle.
Well, you can do that. I'll have to take that up with the airport.
Okay.
So.
Shall we move this forward so we can check on the one from Sullivan Township and check on whether we need to do an alternative?
Yeah, but the name down on your motion said move to recommend that Leelanau County Board of Commissioners approve the appointment of Sarah Claren, Steve Patmore, and Christina Deering to the airport, to the Joint Airport Zoning Board. I'm using those 3 names, but if something comes up, we'll change that next Tuesday night. So.
They're just moving that forward right now.
Yes, that's all you're doing.
Yep.
Yep.
want a motion to move it forward?
Well, I just read the motion to you. Someone just say, yeah, that's what you said.
Motion by,
Move the retro to move forward.
seconded,
Support.
thank you.
Did we move this forward to next week? All those for that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 5-0. Next is,
Five, I think that would be 60 if she was here.
She didn't vote though.
She didn't vote.
She didn't vote.
Oh, okay.
She walked out.
Doesn't matter.
the next one is, my item, I believe, I heard from several of you, and we talked in the several board meetings, and although I personally believe that a committee structure can work, I think the sentiment for the board was that we want to do our work as committee of the whole. So I am recommending that we dissolve the personnel and dissolve the finance committees, and do our work as an executive committee or as a board of commissioners. If somebody make that motion.
I move to recommend the Board of Commissioners that the personnel, move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners that the Personnel and Finance Committees created in October 2nd, 2023 be hereby dissolved.
Any discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 5-0. The next one is also one that I worked with Richard on, and I submitted, we've had discussion about the search. We've had discussion about, do we want to reconsider having administrator / CFO or just an administrator, because we have a finance director appointed. I did talk to Chet Janik, and he said he just did a branch county search, and he had tremendous candidates that fit the bill of administrator. And it was his sense that it is going to be, will continue to be a challenge to find the administrator / CFO. We certainly made a stab at that. I think most of us like how things are going. I know the staff likes how things are going, so I'm suggesting that we consider extending Richard's contract. And he is willing to do that under the same terms as he's currently serving. And then we ought to have some discussion about how do we decide if we're going to redefine the search to recruit just an administrator, or do we want to continue the search of administrator CFO? But I think we need more of Richard's time. So my recommendation for your consideration is that we move to extend Richard's contract through at least early part of next year. Doesn't mean we couldn't consider beginning the search yet this term, but the new board would then have responsibility for doing the actual candidate.
You're recommending option 2.
I'm recommending option 2. Commissioner Rexroth?
I move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners to proceed option 2 regarding the county administrator search as outlined above.
Or discussion. Commissioner Lautner?
Well, actually, we really haven't had a lot of discussion. At least this board hasn't had a lot of discussion of where we're going with this administrative position. There's been a comment thrown out here and there, but we haven't discussed this here. So maybe there's a lot of discussions going on I don't know about, but where have we discussed this? Have we had length discussion?
I'm
Did I
not
miss?
suggesting we did, Commissioner Lautner. That's why I'm
Okay, you did say
suggesting
we have.
we need a little bit more time.
You did say that we've discussed this, so I think we should discuss this. There's only 5 of us here today, but I think we should discuss this.
Right.
So I guess my first question is, we did make that commitment to go for an administrator CFO. So my first question would be, why wouldn't we pursue that? One of the obvious reasons is we just were unsuccessful with what we were looking for with who we did, the candidates that came forward. So then the question will be, well, why? Was salary not high enough? Is that position just too much of a unicorn? Did we just do that to get rid of the previous administrator? So now we're saying, well, now we'll just buckle back and go for an administrator. What, we really haven't discussed this, at least not publicly.
Commissioner O'Rourke and then Commissioner Lewis.
I am extremely satisfied with Mr. Lewis's work. Things have never ran smoother around here. Now, Commissioner Lautner's point, a long time ago, it was a unicorn. She was right. We cannot find someone who is a good administrator and a good admin. You know, I mean, have an admin CFO, no, we need just an administrator. If we have to have a special meeting to talk about, that's fine. We all need to agree, you know, and go after the job. Right now, I'm extremely impressed with Mr. Lewis, and I wish we could keep him forever. So, thank you.
Well, I guess I don't disagree with the idea of having discussion, and if there is a limited group sitting here right now, we have a very limited group, so I still kind of have still ground after seeing the people, and again, I don't disagree with Commissioner O'Rourke's assessment. I mean, the idea that Mr. Lewis is doing a great job, this seems to be gelling the way we wanted. We were grasping at straws to try and find a way to correct the situation we were just having trouble with, and you know, it seems like we're headed the right direction. But I think Commissioner Lawler's point is correct. Maybe there's a deeper discussion that needs to be had, that can be had at a special meeting or as a part of our other agenda. But I don't think it can wait a long time. We need to decide to spend some time on it in depth and just come to a consensus or a vote anyway, whether we can get to consensus. So I have no problem just either withdrawing my motion and moving this forward. But I don't really want us to sit too long. But Mr. Lewis knows what's going on, and we have to decide what we're doing. If we're going to do a search yet this year, we need to make a decision
right now,
like ASAP. I mean, I'm comfortable right now, but I also want to be respectful of people who on this board who think they want more time to reflect on it, and us missing a commissioner right now. So if we need to, I guess I might suggest, could we have is it too late to call for a special meeting just to discuss this, or can we put it on the agenda for next week? Could we meet an hour early next Tuesday and discuss this issue and then take action?
Okay, let's back up. I'm a process guy, so I'd like to do that. First of all, I do concur with you. You got what you want. That's number one. It doesn't make any difference. Now, if you're going to go out and not have a CFO in there, then you're going to rewrite a job description. That's number one. You're going to have to do that. And that's going to take a little bit of time. It's not a huge amount of time. You just take out things and get it through your process of, you know, looking at your individual that you're going to use or whatever. But if you were to start right now and you change your administrator, you probably won't have somebody on board, in my humble opinion, until sometime in November or early December at best. At best, I think. Now, that's me watching processes go through in a few times. And I don't care who you use. And if you use your current vendor who's been doing this, that, you know, you're going to, you know, to do that, it's going to be November, December. But one of the concerns that I have not raised with you is that at best, or whatever you are going, when this was written, or when I started writing this, what was going to happen, you would have 3. Now we know that we're going to have 4 new members at minimum sitting up here, and we still haven't gotten through November. Is it right that this board makes that decision who the next individual is going to be here? Personally, I don't think so. I don't think that's the right way to do for the individual or for the board that's coming forward. That needs the next board, and that next board is going to be here for 4 years. 4 years. That's the way I believe you should go, but that's still your call. You want to continue to move forward and you make that decision, but now the next board does not have to live with any decision you make. They do not have
Exactly
to.
right.
And I was so
Point
pleased
that out.
that Richard agreed to stay till May.
I am insane and I do carry my papers.
And so this gives us an option of moving as fast as we want. We need the special meeting to define the position.
Right.
But before he changes his mind, I'm hoping we get a commitment to work up till May of
Okay. Now,
25.
for next Tuesday though, we have two public hearings that are gonna take place. And so if you want to have a meeting and have a full discussion on this before then, you're gonna have to start meeting about 5 o'clock or whatever. But you have two public hearings that are already scheduled for next, between 6 and 7. So I'm just giving you what your calendar looks like. And for the sake of everyone, you need to decide sooner rather than later, whether it's later this month, it's whatever you want to do, so.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we need a large discussion, including some very key people in this building, I think, too. I'm not 100% sure the finance part is ready to fly without a strong leader, so, I mean, a strong administrator with a finance background, so can we set a meeting? Not before the public hearings. And, but can we have it included in the discussion, Kathy Hartzfeld and the treasurer and just some of the key people?
I would hope that everybody in the room that wants to be in this room to give you input should be here. Department heads, your electeds, that's fine. You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Well, we've been working on this for how many years?
I've been at it for a while.
Okay, so
Okay, so I tell
putting
you
a
what,
meeting before a meeting is not my choice at all.
I tell you what,
Create a
let's
special
do
meeting,
this.
standalone.
I'll work with the clerk, but let's say the following week, the week of the 29th or whatever, the last week, and we'll work with the clerk to try to get a special meeting sometime in the afternoon or whenever you want to have it. That this item is on your agenda, it'll be the same EDS, nothing's going to change in it, because you got two decisions you got to make. First, do you want to do this and move forward? You want to change the titles? We'll have Chet, well, I'll get Mr. Janik in here. If you want to go with option number 2, and I'm going to share this with you, and I helped write this, you know, this is his memo, but I helped write this. My game plan would be, or at least mine would be, that right after certified in November, that group of individuals who are going to take their seats on the board or come back on the board are going to meet and say, what do you want to do? Because the first thing you have to do is hire someone to help with the search. That's not my job. That's not my skill set. So that doesn't need to be. And there are a number, you're going to have to go out with an RFP to do that. That's not hard work to do, but need to do that. And we can do that if that's what you want to do. There are plenty of folks out there that do this work. And they're not going to be, I can assure you one thing, they won't be as cheap as what you've been getting this year. They're usually running, the two that I saw in Traverse City in the last year, $15,000 to $19,000. This is going for a countywide search. So that's up to you how you want to do that. But whichever way you want to do that, if you want to do an RFP, that's great. But the RFP would be ready to go and have in hand by the time the organizational meeting takes place on January 10th. That working time there, because that group has to make the decision, not this group.
Mr. Richard. So I mean, it sounds like generally there's not support for this motion that I made at the time, so I'm going to withdraw that motion. I am in support of a special meeting at the earliest time, but it sounds to me, I gotta remember when we're about to head into the budget process. Right. Our calendar is about to get really busy. I don't probably, in my mind, I don't see a circumstance where we get this done before the end of the current temporary administrator's contract. So I would like to consider at least move that we move forward with negotiating a extension of the contract. I would recommend that we do that piece of business anyway. And we can work on the other things because I think we need that no matter what. So that would be my move to recommend that we negotiate an extension of the interim contract with Administrator Lewis until May or less if needed, right? I mean, that's.
It's May or someone else takes, it's.
Yeah.
I support that.
Any further discussion on that? Commissioner Rohr?
I have to agree with Mr. Lewis somewhat. I don't want to defer everything to the next board. They got to work with them 4 years, but I think we need to narrow down what we're looking for, just an administrator. We can't find an administrative CFO. You cannot find it. We tried, we spent a lot of money.
That'd be the subject of our special meeting. I'm on your side on that thought process, Mr.
Okay,
But,
just a comment. It's not a motion.
And the other part of that special meeting will be to make a decision on whether we terminate the current search for the Michigan leadership candidate.
Description, yes.
And then go out for bids or whatever to move forward. Any further discussion? Would you read the motion, Jim?
Okay,
The motion is
move forward to extend the contract with Richard Lewis until May of 2025. Otherwise, I had here.
I think it's up to May of
Up to.
2025.
Up to, not until, okay.
Right.
Up to May of 2025 unless an administrator is hired, correct?
Yeah.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, couple of, next item is under the, last month you asked that I could move forward with the preparing of a facilities director's job description. As I explained in the memo to you, that I used part of the facilities director job description that Grand Traverse County has used, also a little bit of what is in Leelanau County's maintenance director. This was presented to, and I did wrote it up, a number of us looked at it, did send it to legal, and they gave their input, so what you have here has gone through that process. Working with Kathy, we have recommended that the facilities director be at the same salary wage schedule as the emergency management director. We feel like that's his responsibility. I know it caused some confusion about the IT director being highlighted, but we wanted to have one chart to take care of both items at one time. So we apologize if that caused any confusion. But what you're getting ready to do is to move that up there to that level. So this is what you're going to be approving next week. But my attempt is to take the facilities director's position. And I know this was, and I don't know about the needs or anything like such as that, but I know this was something that was being undertaken by the previous administrator. I'll go back and see if there was a memo that was written on that. So I'll see if there was one that was somewhat prepared. But I know that at least at that point in time, no job description had been undertaken. So this is the first time one's been seen. But I'm trying to envision that as a director, this individual is going to be currently our maintenance director has, he's a working director, so he's hands-on. So if something needs to be prepared, he's out there. This job description is covering going to a higher level, that they are looking more at facilitating and getting around grant writing. Items like that, taking a more holistic approach at all the facilities that we have. I've included in here as part of the duties of working as it relates to the dam, to the parks, to the building grounds, even working with emergency management and as related to the communication towers that we have and the related equipment. I'm also including fleet management in here to look at it, whether we need to do this more in-house, or I know there's companies out there that can handle that are want to talk to us about it. Also, one item that I did put in here dealt with the Parks and Rec Commission. And as we know, that there's no one out there, that no staff at this point that has a more hands-on, indirect relationship with our Parks and Recreation. It's been more of a peer who's got the time to deal with it. I kind of like that. It's kind of fun to argue with them, but it's, you know, but that's okay. But someone needs to be playing that role as a parks coordinator, as has been outlined by the Parks and Recs Commission bylaws, which has to be approved by the county commission. So you've accepted that this will be there. So to work with that commission to do what is important, especially when we get finished with the 5-year master plan that's going to be coming up, and help them to move all those items forward that you will be looking at. You, sometime, hopefully by February 1st, you'll be there that the county board's going to say, this is what we want to see accomplished. Someone's got to help that board get through that. It's not up to the Parks and Rec board to do that. They don't have that authority. By their bylaws, they don't have, it falls back to administration, the county staff to do that. And so I'm looking at part of that time to be there. I try to leave this as on a higher level, but some of the job, what I'm looking for is someone that has the training such as an engineer type, a project manager type that goes out there and has to know at least enough about, especially on construction management, that has enough knowledge to know what you're talking about when they're talking about electrical panels. You know, so it's things such as that, and that's what we'll be looking at. I'm not recommending any reduction in staff that we already have in place. I know that's kind of one of those things that we struggle with at times, but someone's got to go out there and still do the work. Someone's got to go out there and help direct the work every day. This person is going to be working in a much higher level, but someone's got to go out there and help direct the staff to say, okay, you need to be over here, you need to be over here. Also, they're going to be looking at our contracts that we have, especially for this building. The contract expires in 2025, at the end of 25. Does that something that we continue, that the individual have to make this, is that a good move or a bad move for the county to continue that? Or is it a different way of looking at it? If nothing else, or do we go out for bids and see if there's other units or somebody else that can do that work? This is going to be more of a, you know, looking at this from a 10,000 foot level instead of working down around a 1,000 foot level for all your facilities and all your mainstream. At least that's what I felt like was what you were looking for. Now, if I've got it wrong, that's fine. But, you know, you asked for it. That's what I've attempted to provide. What I'd like to do, it's up to you how you want to do that, is that we look at, I would like to establish the position as quickly as we can. If you don't think you're ready to do it this month, then I would like to, but I would like to hopefully have someone in place to work with Jerry to at least have some knowledge going in there before Jerry walks out of here the 3rd of January, because now it's lost. And to do that, I think it's going to be important. Or else we can wait until someone walks in here. You can wait till after the budget's done and it goes into effect on January 1st. But now we're behind the 8 ball again, in my opinion. Now, the call is yours. We'll work with it either way you want to go with it. So,
Commissioner Redmond?
So I looked this over carefully, and in what I do, I've been able to, you know, work with a lot of facilities directors, and depending on the scale of the place you're looking at, they have different sets of needs. I personally think this is way too high level for our needs. I think we need some facility development, but I think there's not enough hands-on in this proposal. And I think the bachelor's degree requirement is going to eliminate. I've worked with a lot of people who have worked their way up through processes who don't have the bachelor's degree, who have excellent skill sets to do the work that's needed. So I think, in my mind, this also needs to be discussed in the entirety of the budget, because we, you know, just a little bit earlier in this saying, we have a mechanical who we have a contract with B&W, who is kind of our de facto half facilities manager, making a recommendation on electrical panels. So I think, in my mind, this needs to be considered a holistic thing, along with how we reconsider what happens with B&W's contract for this place and what's needed there. And I'm just, personally, I'm not ready to move forward with this until it's a part of a bigger discussion of the budget. And also, I just think that we went from 0 to 200, and I think we need to stop somewhere at like 85 or 90 of this, and that's just this commissioner's position. So I think there needs to be more hands-on part of this. I mean, 60% of facilities director, 40% of Again, I don't think we need to have underneath this individual, another individual that then tells people what to do.
Commissioner Lautner and then Commissioner Russ.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is, and I applaud you, because I think you looked at everything possible and thrown it in here. And so, but I agree, like, but you do say bachelor's degree,
Or equivalent.
and or building, so.
Or
so-
equivalent to
Yeah,
experience.
or equivalent, and, because I agree 100%. Sometimes it's experience that and means the most, and can some of these things be farmed out cheaper? But I agree with whatever they can take off of, the management of the, irrigation and the management of the, for going out for bids for the lawn mowing. And right now we use spinnaken, but we use tree green and spinnaken. We see those every month in our bills. They can manage those as well. But they also then need to work really closely with finance department and, make sure that's all a part of it. But I agree. I think it can be scaled down somewhat, but I like it. I like the concept a lot.
Commissioner Rush?
Yeah, I definitely support this, but I just see on the line item with, we have facilities director, then maintenance director. That's just too heavy, I think. I think we're gonna have to decide how we structure that department.
Well, what is eliminated?
Maybe not, but two directors in that. in
I
that
agree.
area. That seems.
Yeah, I guess that's
We
my.
have two full-time maintenance people, right? And then some seasonal, but.
And we'd have
is
one
that-
person in charge of all of it, one person telling the other person to tell the other two people what to do.
No,
So we need to.
I took it that maintenance director would go away.
No, you're saying it would not.
I would, somebody's gotta be out to help do the day-to-day. Our maintenance director, at this point, that job title is, they're hands-on. I'm not looking for a hands-on. This is where it's gonna be. Someone's gotta help direct the other two individuals who are not staff, that deals with the day-to-day stuff. It's one of those, I just give you an organizational chart that will help you, but, the way I understand what you were looking for was somebody with a higher level of being able to apply for grants. That's not what we have right now. We have somebody that's got a lot of knowledge, I agree with you, that's come up through the ranks over 44 years to understand and know our system. But bottom line is, he doesn't have to work at the 10,000 foot level, he's more at the 1,000 foot level. And someone's got to be up here to look at the overall scheme
I
of
think
things
they
for
can
the
do
3 to
both.
5 years, but someone
I agree.
underneath
I
you.
don't think we're that big. I think they can do both. I really do.
I think you're setting yourself up for failure, but that's okay, it's your own call.
I just don't think we're big enough to need that entirety of skill set.
I shared my, let me share.
You're not ready yet, yeah, that's fine with me.
My view is that I agree, we don't need a reduction in staff, but we don't need a director. I think we still need a 3 maintenance staff. But I think the facilities director can handle the supervision of the maintenance staff and the other projects. I also think we ought to consider this relative to our contract with DFW. And I'm unhappy, or I'm not unhappy, uneasy with making a decision on this until we have our budget meeting and see what else is there.
I just give you my recommendations, I follow your all's leads.
All good.
I still have to restate too, your concern about Parks and Rec and, it's huge. I mean, our assets and our parks are huge and they are falling apart under the current system. We need someone really strong to bring us into the next generation. These parks have to evolve, they have to be maintained, and the staff where we have it now, it isn't happening.
If we're going to have a special meeting a week after next to talk about the administrator, might we also put this on the agenda and have that discussion?
I'm pretty great.
Fine. Right. So should we just move on, not take action today on this, but we will move this to a special meeting?
Okay. Good.
We now are at
Let me think when it's
HR.
Okay. This is another one that I have, as I go through the process that I'm struggling with. Is, again, as I've gone through the interviews, I've had 4 interviews, 3 interviews. Well, no, I've talked to 4 different people. And what we have here is a human resources director. And of course, as I look up the word director, that's an individual that's up here, that is in a separate department all to its own. It's not what you have in mind. It's also someone that has a staff of 2 or 3 people that may be handling day-to-day stuff, which is not what we have here. We have an individual that is supposed to handle all the day-to-day stuff of human resources, which is more of a generalist or a specialist. If you're going to be staying underneath the city administrator, the county administrators, line item. I think the real issue here is, at least what you want is the title called Human Resources Director. That puts this job up here at a higher level than what you have in your space scale and what you want to have done. Now, we can do that, have a director that's up at a higher level, but that job also that job description has to be changed. This is day-to-day stuff. All this is day-to-day stuff, that everything we expect every day from somebody. And we can bring somebody in to do that. But, you know, when you're looking for someone to come in and help write policy, to do that, that's not what this job is. When I look at the job description, that's not what this job is. This job is to help set up the interviews, to do that, which is still high level. It's still very important. It's what we need. I think it's at the right level on salary. It's like level everything. It's the title that's beating the heck out of me. Because I've got people wanting to come in and want a director, and they're expecting they're going to be doing this. When what our expectations are, staff of 1. They're not, and what I'm having is I've got great folks to go up here that may be an idea to hire them to do specialized work for us if we're willing to do some of our policies or whatever. But that's not what this job is. This is day-to-day stuff every day that we got to do. And I need to know what it is that what I'm looking for. What is it that you're expecting? I know with human resources, this person can do everything we want done. Take care of the records and do it, especially with the help of our finance director. There's certain things that happen inside that they're going to coordinate back and forth anyway, like with MERS payments and health insurance, they're going to coordinate all that back and forth anyhow. But this is not a standalone department. The way I understand, the way this job description reads. And I was struggling with this until I sat down with both Lauren and Jen was sitting in there and Kathy, and they said, the way this is structured is the title of this position that's beating the heck out of me. It's whatever.
Mr. Rexroad and then Commissioner Lutton.
So I agree 100% with your analysis.
Well, it's just mine, it's all of us.
But I mean, whoever was involved, and I mean, it is just, and so this would be just a specialist description. I agree. This is directly reporting to the administrator, correct? And yeah, I think that's it. I'm 100% for it.
I mean, unless there was something else that was intended, I think we got the wrong title here. That's all I can say.
And we just want to handle the day-to-day HR issues
Which are important. We need an individual that our employees could go into and have a confidential conversation with, make sure that the hiring gets done, all the paperwork gets done, work with people at changing their paper, whatever they need done to help them be successful in this job here. Whatever we get. Okay.
So up until a couple of years ago, our county clerk and staff handled HR. Without error, to my knowledge, without error. Okay. Since then, we've had error after error after error after error after, you know, false starts, etc. So I guess we should really look at, and do we want to continue with this separate under administrator? Or do we want to even see if clerk and staff will consider taking it back?
Well, I asked you that last month and you said continue.
I know you threw it out there, but we also thought we would be able to hire.
Oh, I can hire somebody.
Resources director.
No,
So
I can hire somebody as a
I'm just
specialist and do the
concerned
job.
about you know, if we've had employees that retirements have been messed up and employees have had to work a month longer than they should have because their MERS wasn't done correctly. I want to make sure that we are doing this work correctly, so
No question about
and
that.
I'm talking honestly to the board, so, you know what I'm saying, it's, yeah. I know what you're doing, you've done exactly what we've asked you to do. I'm just asking us to make sure that we do a deep dive within ourselves and make sure we do this correctly.
Commissioner Ross?
So I think we did do a deep dive by doing the employee climate survey. We definitely heard from employees that they wanted this position to be separate from the clerk's office. So I don't think going back is an option. Employees, vast employees would be happy with. I'm sorry if there have been some errors made, but you know, hopefully we'll find the right person to fill this specialist position. Administrator Lewis, any of the 4 people that you spoke with, so they wouldn't be candidates for this position.
One of them could be. Yeah, and another one said they would, but that I have this feeling that they're used to working at a much higher level. I have a concern of how long that individual would stick with us because this is. A couple of them said, oh, we have to do this every day. One person, this is a staff, I mean, with support of others, but this is it. This is not a director position.
And the title you're using is attracting the wrong.
In my opinion,
Basically,
and at least in our opinion, we are directing, you know, what we really want, so. That's why I want to make sure the job description is fine.
So what was the word specialist? Is that what you?
Probably more than likely. I don't know, we'll come up with a fancier title.
Is that what most counties use? Is that
I'm gonna
specialist
look it
term?
up.
I was gonna say there's just.
I'll look at it. Well, I mean, someone like a Grand Traverse County, which is much bigger and much more
Yes.
complex, has a whole separate department to it. It is designated a separate department. And the other place I have is the city of Traverse. They have a separate department. They've got a total of 3 in there, but it's a whole different level, so. We may not need that much, you know, and again, instead of having to hire somebody, one person said that the salary range for a directorship, it was much too low. Well, maybe that's started my thinking. Maybe the wrong title is in here. Especially when I looked up the definition of director, which is not what we're having here.
So I haven't heard any, other than what Commissioner Lumber has brought up, any.
I can bring that back to you also at the meeting to make sure whatever changes that we want to make.
Yeah, I guess back to, the title, I mean, I agree, director is the wrong thing. I trust you to come up with some sort of title for it that matches the thing, but I also haven't heard from this board any desire to move a different direction. Other than what was just stated, so I in my mind, I would say move forward with but that's my comment.
All right.
And I certainly would too, and I like the fact that the administrator has responsibility, ultimate responsibility for HR.
Right.
And has a specialist or some title, appropriate title person doing the work. So I think that's the direction we're on.
So
So
are
we have a
you,
motion on the floor.
I do not,
No, I don't need a motion right this
do you
moment.
want to move this forward to Tuesday night though? You wanna-
Sure, we'll be ready by Tuesday. All we're doing is changing the title.
I didn't make a motion, but I could, I mean.
I'm sorry.
Well, and that's why I don't have a motion in here,
I don't have a second.
because I didn't know which.
I didn't
one.
make one yet.
Okay, just
I'd be
let's
willing
move
to,
forward. Okay.
Let's make one.
I would move to recommend that we allow Administrator Lewis to redraft the title of the HR position and as it reports directly to the county administrator and report back to this body and move forward with the hiring process
At next week's meetings.
at next week's meeting.
Support.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Kathy, you got your big box there.
Yes, I almost forgot my box, so. 27 pages of claims and accounts. Any questions?
Commissioner Lautner,
I do not have any.
any questions for Kathy? Any special reports? We now are down to our second public comment. Thank you for hanging with us today. Mr. Mikowski, you're up first.
Gonna select me first?
I did.
And we got a new timer here. Look, someone put this on my desk. I don't know who did this, but this is a 5-minute timer. So y'all can just watch this as
No one putting extra sand in there, right?
Interesting observation. Our company had 700 employees. Human resources was handled by the executive VP and his secretary. 700 employees with unions. So you can see the magnitude of where we tried to go does not match the necessity that we have, and it's because we have a failure of understanding our needs and necessities to begin with. We have on a touch base on this May 11th, 2021 clerk loathing motion. 26 years of the clerk's successful handling of it, plus 3.5 years of successfully going through the chaos and the fiasco that continued thereafter. There was never a mention of poor or bad performance on any part. Everything seemed to be based on emotions. The county had a lot of resources to help us through this process, first of all, including the county prosecutor, who should seem to know the law. And then we have our corporate counsel, who also would know the law. It would seem a lot of communication among those people that they could have counseled the commission at that time, around that time, to say what they were planning to do with no plan and no need or necessity justification report was a folly. But the clerk loathing vendetta continued. To ordinary people, it seems that these resources should have been utilized, or perhaps they were given, counsel was given, and counsel was ignored. So we went on and wasted almost $1 million on this process. And so it's time now to get to the point where we have a definition of malfeasance. The improper performance of some act which a person may lawfully do. That's from Black's Law Dictionary. We want you to digest that very carefully. So with all this advice, we probably didn't take it, or whatever we did, we didn't do. But to ordinary people, that definition seems to be quite consistent with what took place on May 11, 2021. I am very impressed today with Mr. Lewis explaining things. He defined that there's such a thing as good insanity. I like that. And Mr. Rexroth and Melinda for trying to clarify a need or necessity that matches our need. We are a 22,000 population county, not 100,000 population county. So I believe this commission needs to look at itself. It's been a lame duck commission from its beginning. It's my belief. By continuing on the process that occurred on May 11, 2021, we have allowed this thing to strangle us almost. But the good news is we are finding our way out of it finally, so that the next commission will not have to suffer the calamity that you had to suffer that was caused by your prior commission. You need to apologize, first of all, as we've discussed before and asked, to the public and to the clerk and her staff for all the harm that has been done. We just need to do that. It'll be a very redeeming it's a redemption for you to leave your duties and your job in the best possible condition for the future. I think you're just about there. I look forward for you to doing that and getting on with everybody's lives.
Thank you, Mr. Custer.
It don't work.
Any other public comment? Yes, Alan.
Thank you, Board Chair Ty and fellow board members, for an opportunity to address a topic that has come before, but I feel needs further vigilance. And pardon me, if the Leelanau Energy Annual Meeting held 3 weeks ago was posted, then feel free to step in, correct me. But I do address adherence to the Michigan Open Meetings Act. It's more than a guide for behavior of public officials. It's a requirement, and it takes very little time or effort to follow. Given that there was a complaint filed with the county prosecutor's office about OMA violation several months ago, and the prosecutor determined that indeed they did occur on this board's watch, it was disappointing that the issue is cropping up again. I'm referring to the annual meeting of the Leelanau Energy Organization, the group Leelanau Energy, on July 24th, which I attended through an invitation given to all candidates for this board. Part of the meeting was set aside for commissioner candidates to speak. 3 county commissioners, half of the county board, attended the meeting and spoke. I think they are members. I believe they're members of the Leelanau Energy, but I'm not privy to its membership role. 3 other commissioners were invited to attend, but did not. Had one of them shown, the majority of the county board would have been present. As should have been expected, one topic was county energy policy, including a plan to install solar panels, a solar panel project on this property. The president of Leelanau Energy is Joe DeForest. He's a clean energy advocate. That's how he makes his living. Mr. DeForest is also chair of the Future Energy Task Force. And of course, that public body, which was appointed by this county board, did not post meetings early on. I know they've been corrected, and I don't really mean to go back to that other than we've been through this before. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that the Open Meetings Act was violated, but half of the county board attended and spoke at a meeting designed to discuss county energy policy as envisioned by candidates. It does seem, at least to me, that the spirit may have been breached. Only by happenstance was the meeting one member short of having a clear majority, which would have eliminated any question. I do not know whether commissioners who are members of Leelanau Energy regularly attend all of its meetings, but if they do, I have a simple solution for the future. And this has been employed in the past. I think the clerk's office has worked through this. That solution is to inform Clerk Michelle Crocker whenever 3 or more commissioners gather together to talk about anything related to county business. Clerk Crocker can post the meetings as possible meetings, the gatherings as possible meetings, which would make them open to the public. That way, the public would know when and where to observe and possibly help in the development of county policy. It is not my intent to dissuade commissioners from participating in public or private gatherings. On the contrary, we are social beings, and we share a love for Leelanau, and we want to help guide the county to a bright future. But there is a right and a wrong way to participate in that process. As commissioners, you have a higher standard to bear. Thank you, Chair Ty and other members of the board, for an opportunity to address a concern of mine. Thank you.
Other public comment? Bill?
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. And this handout that's going around is regards to TCAPS, which is part of Leelanau County, their sex ed curriculum. The back sheet of it is a sheet that TCAPS put out on page 4, where that's their instructions for folks who wanted to come to it. So I was very, very concerned about this, and here's some of the reasons why. I'll start right from page 1. We've got the SECA's, well, I'll just read the title. Traverse City Area Public Schools Comprehensive Sex Ed Curriculum. Is it harming or protecting the children? You decide. So I've laid out the information from both sides. And this is up on my website. The website's down right now. I think they're working on it a little bit, but it should be up and running. All the links are pretty much working. I'm not sure exactly when it'll be up. I'll be calling them when I get out of here. But the SECA Circle, that's, you'll come to this. It shows SECAS is the sex ed for social change. And boy, oh boy, did they get that. And it's got sex publishers, Kinsey Institute, population control, medical, people involved, financial, educational, and religious. It's very interesting to see who all is involved in that. It's just a one-page thing. Down to item 2 is a model penal code. And you can't see it, but when you click on the link, the tcfamily.org website right at the top, you see it looks at the Kinsey reports, came out in 1948. By the way, there was no sex ed before in 1948. It all came out of Kinsey and his fraudulent information. It's junk science. And one of the things way down at the bottom of this page, when you do click on it, hopefully, says the American Law Reviews and Journals from 1982 to 2000, 650 Westlaw sites. This is what they used to make all the laws, to change all the laws, all on this junk science. So that's item 2. Item 3 is 45 pages, but I tried to make it less formidable by highlighting what stuck out in my mind. At least you could skim through it and look at the titles and pick out what you think is important. This lady worked in a clinic that did this, or in the sex ed curriculum, and it shows how and what they taught her to teach. And she got troubled by it. And so that's a really good article. The 4th one is from Dr. Judith Reisman. That's 47 pages highlighted throughout, so you can get to the information at least that I thought was important. And she's been an expert on Kinsey from the get-go, and no one's disproved her information. And I challenged TCAPS. I said, well, let me go to the 5th one, the generations ahead. That was what TCAPS covered the most of, and this Margie Rich, a very nice lady, but heavily on pages 2 and 3 of the handout, you'll see she's promoting homosexuality through 3rd level Windfire meeting at their school, TC High School, the alternative one. The MOASH, she was on the board from 2018 to 2023, Michigan Organization on Adolescent Sexual Health, heavily promoting homosexuality. And then the last chart, I guess I don't have it on this one, but it was what's up on TC High School's website. It's all promoting homosexuality. There's one on humanism. Is it a religion? The congressional record for communist goals. Some of the things they want is eliminate all laws governing obscenity, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity, present homosexuality as natural and normal, infiltrate the churches, eliminate prayer and any religious, discredit the American Constitution, etc. That's very interesting. And then Dan McGee was in charge of the script. I've transcribed the whole first meeting. You can see all of that, all the slides they used. You can look at their slides. They're on this back page. There's 7 different levels. And the last one is the national standards. They say they're not going on them, but they're listed. And so.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yep,
Thanks, Bill.
you're welcome.
Any other public comment? Any commissioner comment?
I guess I didn't speak to it quickly, but again, agreeing with the administrator Lewis on the idea that this next administrator should be chosen by the next board. That's to me, a sage advice, being that at least 4, I mean, would be 3 of us at the most, and maybe less, imposing our will on the next board. So I agree with that statement.
Anybody else?
I do not disagree with that, however, the process has to be different. To have any returning commissioners, especially even 3, meet ahead of time for decision making shouldn't happen. There would have to be a public meeting and, you know, ahead of January 1.
Maybe I didn't make clear, it was my intent that whichever ones are coming back, and anyone who's going to be coming on, I want that to be a public meeting for to have, give some general direction. And the main thing is,
That's kind of where, I don't know, maybe you should look into it a little bit more. That
I'll be
seems
glad
to me
to,
that it
but-
would be a little sticky because, like you said, for general direction or decision making, you've got seated county commissioners potentially making a decision.
well, then I could turn that around and have a general discussion and bring it back to you at your November meeting. I'm doing this a little bit of selfishness. I don't want to drag this out any longer, 2025, for my own personal use. I don't want to, I'm just telling
Are
you.
you picking up on the dragging of the feet, Richard, or?
No, I'm not dragging up on the dragon feet. I'm trying to help you get this thing moving along so that come January, I'm not having to wait to hire somebody to start an RFP process. We can do that in a way that can be done, started so that in January, you're selecting or making a decision to board with you. No, but if I have to, I'll bring it back as discussion, then who's ever sitting here can make that decision to move forward with input that haven't been received. Fair enough. I hear you.
We'll talk more about that during our special meeting in 2 weeks, and I suggest that we have the clerk's office reach out to all the candidates and let them know of that meeting, so they could be in the audience and make public comment if they wanted to. For our special meeting. I think we need to make sure that.
Okay, so you're saying something different than what I had understood, so.
No, yes, that's fine.
Okay,
Now we're at the special meeting.
and until December 31st,
You are here. You make.
no one else can make any decisions.
Right, that is correct. They can provide input.
Any other commissioner comments? We are done, I was gonna say we're done before noon.
Almost, we still have some financial stuff.
If Melinda would have stuck to 5-minute break, we would have been done by noon.
I was in the room.
We're going to approve our financials.
I would move to approve claims and accounts $532,397.17.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye. I move to recommend approval of post audit $1,934,214.60.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.